What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So Bellator finished up its doubleheader in Hawaii. Really cool to see the announcers in the floral short sleeve button-down shirts. You don't see that often. You were used to seeing Bruce Buffer in a full to the nines tuxedo. So seeing the laid back Hawaiian shirts was kind of cool. Also seeing BJ Penn and Hoist Gracie in the crowd. It was kind of a cool event that they put on down there in Hawaii. Two cool events, rather. Cyborg versus Arlene Blencowe was the main event of the second night. What a great fight this was. Arlene Blencowe proved herself to be one of the toughest women in all of MMA.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the main event was fun. It was all 25 minutes, which nobody really thought was going to happen. Anytime somebody that we aren't really sure of goes in there with Cyborg, you just assume it's going to be a first-round finish of some sort. You know, Cyborg has so much power, and if you're not one of these top 3, top 5 girls in the world and big enough to deal with her, you usually don't last that long. But this girl, you know, she's on the radar now. She might not have the skills to beat a Cyborg or beat some of the big names in women's MMA, but I don't think anybody, if Cyborg can't knock her out or take her out, I don't think anybody else can. So I think we need to be able to see her fight multiple more times and keep her in the limelight a little bit, because after last night, she definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and Cyborg's getting older now. You know, she's pushing 40, and there'll be a day where she's no longer in Bellator, and I think Arlene Blencowe could certainly be somebody who steps up and grabs a belt. I was very impressed with her hand speed, her willingness to engage. She was standing right in there in the pocket and trading with Cyborg, which, like, we haven't really seen anybody do that besides Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes has got some of the craziest power in women's MMA history. So the fact that she was in there throwing quick hands and trading back and forth was great. She showed a chin. She showed heart, because Cyborg put her on the ground a couple of times, had her in some really precarious positions on the ground with some serious ground and pound sort of situations. So all credit to Arlene Blencowe, but it was Cyborg's night. Also, a person who won the night was Raufeon Stots. He had a great fight with Juan Archuleta as long as that fight lasted. Very back and forth. I don't think many people expected Juan to shoot for a takedown on Stots immediately, but he was able to not only shoot for it, but get it within the first 30 seconds of the fight. And I thought Juan was actually getting the better of the exchanges in the fight, except for that last exchange where he leaned forward a little bit too much, made a crucial mistake with the takedown attempt there, and Stots made him pay for it.
Yeah, and when wrestlers go against each other, you know, whether you're D1, D2, you know, Juan Archuleta was at Purdue. He's a great All-American wrestler. Raufeon Stots was a Division II wrestler, but the skills are pretty much the same. Those
it's
guys
just the size of the college at that point, pretty much.
Exactly. And I think that Juan wanted to prove a point. He goes, okay, I'm going to show you that I'm Division I, you're Division II. He picked him up in the first 30 seconds, put him on the ground, was able to control him. I thought he did win the first round, but right before the first round ended, Raufeon Stots got a takedown of his own. It was out in the center of the octagon, or of the cage, I should say. It's Bellator, so it's not an octagon.
The circular cage.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those situations that when you have two wrestlers, they kind of negate each other. And I would venture to say that Juan Archuleta is a more dynamic striker than Raufeon Stots. Now, Raufeon's got great power, and clearly he's able to finish the show with his striking. But if Juan didn't duck in that moment, I do think that with the game plan he brought into that fight, he probably would have been able to continue to win rounds. But, man, this is why we love the sport. Anything can happen with one strike, with one takedown, with one position, with one exchange. And Raufeon Stots just took that belt, and now he's making his way in down the Grand Prix, and hopefully closer to $1 million for him. I don't know. It was a really fun fight. For me, it felt like the biggest, most important fight of the night, even though Cyborg did have a really fun fight as well.
Yeah, and my prediction is Stots is going to win this tournament. I mean, I think the other kind of wild card was the winner of Patchy Mix versus Horiguchi, but to be honest, that wasn't the best fight, and I wasn't really blown. Patchy Mix did a good job taking the back and kind of holding position and stuff like that. Horiguchi's style is just not for me. He's just too all over the place and tries to touch you. It doesn't seem like he really tries to do a whole lot of damage with a lot of that. So, you know, Stots is a real fighter. He's a real scrapper. He throws to hurt, and I do believe he's actually going to win this tournament.
Yeah, I could see it, because Juan was the guy that I thought was going to win the whole tournament. I think Juan has the skills, and, you know, he should be on notice, because anything can happen. When you're talking about 8 fighters and a Grand Prix tournament and timing and everything, a lot can happen, and people can get injured. People can fall out of fights. And if they need somebody to slide back into the tournament, he might have to do some heavy lifting, but Juan Archuleta could wind up right back in a place where he could be fighting for the Grand Prix finale or a rematch against Raufeon Stots. Who knows what? But Juan Archuleta should hold his head high because that was an awesome performance on his part. Raufeon Stots just wound up getting first place instead of second that night. But I really am excited to see what these guys do leading up into the next round of the Grand Prix. The Grand Prix are fun, man. I think it's fun. There's a lot on the line, $1 million. But also, Raufeon Stots is an infectious personality. I think Bellator needs to do what they can do and pay him what they need to pay him to keep him around because he's one of those guys that's been built up through Bellator, and as long as they can keep him, I think they have a potential star on their hands.
Yeah, he's a star at Bellator for sure. He absolutely has the personality. He's got the style. He's able to finish as he showed last night. And Juan Archuleta had never been KO'd in his entire career. I mean, Juan Archuleta is a great fighter.
Stud.
You're talking about top 5 UFC bantamweight, in my opinion, in Juan Archuleta. And Raufeon Stots able to do what he did last night was deeply impressive. And I think that if much like AJ McKee was kind of in that heated conversation, could he go over and beat a UFC champion? And then obviously Patricio Pitbull totally derailed that conversation. But I believe with a few more wins, Stots is going to be in that conversation with, hey, like, how would he look against Aljo? How would he look against Dillashaw? You know, and obviously Dillashaw trains with Archuleta, so that's a nice little talking point there. But I'm very impressed with Stots. Obviously, 37-year-old Cris Cyborg looked good as always. She showed that she can take a punch. I mean, she had a lot of blood running from her ear. Who knows if she had a ruptured eardrum? But Blencowe certainly made her wear some of her own blood last night, and she showed a true toughness that we don't always have to see out of Cyborg. Just because she's so damn good, she almost never takes any damage. But last night, she proved to us yet again that she's got a lot of heart. So I think it was cool. Unfortunately, the hometown girl, Alimale McFarland, did not win. But I think all in all, the Bellator double feature in Hawaii was a nice event.
Yeah, it's fun. I think they do it annually. So like once a year, they go over there and they take the whole production, set up and they make a night of it or 2 nights of it. It was
Put
great.
A few tiki torches in the back.
Exactly. Luau's and what do they say?
They're roasting a pig in the locker room.
Exactly. Probably eating some good food. But it was great to see Cyborg in deep waters. I think that was exactly what she needed. She called out Kat Zingano, Kayla Harrison, and Amanda Nunes. I think the only one that she can actually get contractually is Kat Zingano. So hopefully we see that happen soon. And then, when it comes down to the Grand Prix tournament, Raufeon Stots is undeniable. I think we need to see him continue to fight, and we'll likely see him win this whole tournament. But he did beat Magomedov, who, if you don't know him, he before Aljamain Sterling just beat Peter Yan, was the only person that had ever beaten Peter Yan. So while the UFC is for sure the premier league across all mixed martial arts, the best of the best in Bellator can absolutely compete with the best of the best in the UFC.
I think you're totally right. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment and let us know what you thought about Bellator's double feature in Hawaii. And if you haven't already and you're into combat sports, we really appreciate a subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace.